And thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Here are today's headlines.
Donald Trump, shame on you! Donald Trump, shame on you!
Protesters rallied near the White House after President Trump's administration announced it will end special protections for Salvadoran immigrants here in the U.S. That means close to 200,000 people will be returning back to El Salvador next year. Salvadorans were granted permission to stay in the U.S. temporarily after a series of natural disasters hit in 2000. El Salvador is the fourth country whose citizens have lost temporary protection status. North Korea has agreed to send athletes and officials to the Winter Olympic Games in South Korea next month. The breakthrough decision came after high-level talks between the two countries. Talks between the North and the South don't always go smoothly, but a North Korean spokesperson said Kim Jong-un wants to show the world North Korea is not a dangerous rogue nation. The University of Alabama adds another championship title under its belt thanks to the help of freshman quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. The Hawaiian native stepped in for Jalen Hurts. It's a decision that will be celebrated by the Alabama fans for decades to come. He threw 3 touchdown passes, including the game ender, to give the Crimson Tide its 5th national championship under coach Nick Saban. The freshman quarterback told SB Nation that his decision to play for Alabama was solely based on the team's belief in God.
I mean, first and foremost, it was their belief in God. You know, their belief in God was one of the biggest things that kind of struck me, you know, and that kind of lines up with everything in my life.
Just as the eastern U.S. is digging out and recovering from last week's snow and cold, more bad weather could be on the way across the country. This after many airline travel cancellations at New York's JFK Airport, and heavy rain and mudslides are forecast for California. Here's Charlene Aaron.
More than 115 flights were canceled at New York's JFK Airport, and 100 more delayed as freezing rain, sleet, and snow hit the area Monday night. A water main break at the airport Sunday caused chaos and suspended international arrivals. Frustrated passengers already delayed due to last week's storm were still experiencing delays Monday, some as long as 12 hours. Many travelers forced to sleep on floors, and suitcases sat in inches of water.
There are people who have been here for almost 4 days who haven't slept, who haven't gone to a hotel, and who are still trying to find their luggage.
This man spent hours waiting to pick up a loved one whose flight didn't have a gate.
It's just frustrating, and I know a lot of people are here waiting for hours and hours.
New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling for a review.
It seems almost everything that could go wrong went wrong.
In the South, icy weather conditions made for hazardous driving. 15 people were injured in a 35-car pileup on I-75 in Georgia. And in Tennessee, drivers also encountered slick roads. Lake Michigan and Chicago, a sea of slush. Farther north, New Hampshire's Mount Washington was the second coldest place on Earth this weekend at -90. Out west, California could be facing mudslides from a storm with hard rains and high winds. Up to 5 inches of rain is forecast in some places. That could cause trouble for areas outside Los Angeles that have been hit hard by recent historic wildfires, with soil washing away from the bedrock as there is no vegetation left to hold it in place. Mandatory and voluntary evacuations are in effect for parts of Los Angeles and Ventura counties.
I mean, look at the hill. There's nothing slowing it down.
People are preparing for the worst by filling up sandbags.
Water will come down my street. My fear is it coming up and over the sidewalk into my front yard and into my front door.
Weather has taken a heavy toll on the country in the last year. The cost for weather-related disasters reportedly will reach a record high $306 billion in the U.S. for 2017. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Mississippi's freedom of conscience law can remain on the books after the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear a challenge. The law protects 3 beliefs. Marriage happens only between a man and a woman. Sex should only take place in that kind of marriage, and a person's gender is decided at birth and cannot be changed. Mississippi passed the law in response to gay marriage. Critics say it allows people to discriminate against gay and transgender people. Legal challenges kept the law from being implemented until last year when a federal appeals court found the challengers of the law did not prove they were harmed by it. Supporters say the case is an example of legal activists trying to use the courts to change laws that don't fit their ideologies. President Trump used his speech to the American Farm Bureau to promote his recently passed tax law. CBN's Ben Kennedy reports on that now from Washington.
President Trump took off here in D.C. bound for Nashville, Tennessee. It is there he met with the American Farm Bureau with his plan on how to boost the rural economy.
Farm country is God's country. So true.
In his first major speech since signing the tax bill, President Trump addressed the American Farm Bureau Federation.
We're fighting for our farmers. Thank you.
Trump took that fight to pen and paper when he signed 2 executive orders to expand broadband online access to rural areas. He then touted how the $1.5 trillion tax overhaul helps working families, small business, and even farmers.
Most family farms and small business owners will be spared, and you're going to be spared, and it really is the word punishment of the deeply unfair estate tax known as the death tax, so you can keep your farms in the family. Get up.
Trump talked about how the tax bill allows companies to essentially immediately write off the full cost of new equipment, and that means more money stays on the farm.
All American businesses, including American farmers, will be able to deduct 100% of the cost of new equipment in the year you make the investment.
Trump is the first president to address the group in a quarter century, the last being George H.W. Bush back in 1992.
I'm so honored to be the first president to address the American Farm Bureau in more than 25 years.
Aside from the president's support, farmers now turn to Congress for help, hoping to secure more money for the upcoming farm bill. In Washington, Ben Kennedy, CBN News.
For 3 years, the city of Mosul in Iraq was the headquarters of ISIS. Today, it's an apocalyptic ruin. Get an up-close look at what's left in that terror region. An Iranian lawmaker says police have arrested 3,700 people for the past 2 weeks of protests. That number is higher than the one initially offered by authorities. The protests were triggered by anger at Iran's economic woes, but later saw demonstrators calling for the overthrow of the government. The United States and Israel have expressed support for the protesters. Iranian authorities have said the protests are winding down. In his national security address, President Trump announced the U.S.-led coalition has recaptured nearly 100% of the land once held by ISIS. CBN News recently went inside Mosul for an exclusive look at the Islamic State's epicenter. As Chris Mitchell shows us now, it will take a long time to fix what ISIS destroyed.
CBN News, escorted by Iraqi National Police, drove where the fight against ISIS was at its worst. This part of Mosul remains a military zone, littered with unexploded ordnance, IEDs, and dead bodies.
We're standing in the center of Mosul, and you can really see it's an apocalyptic landscape. Everywhere you look, you can see devastation and destruction. It's a bit eerie, too. It's very quiet. It's like a ghost town. Reminds me of what a European city would have looked like in World War II after it was bombed out. And if you look around, you can tell it's not going to take months or years, maybe decades, to restore Mosul to what it once was.
We stood within just a few yards of where ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi declared his caliphate in the summer of 2014. Now that 3-year dream lay in ruins. His fighters, dead or gone.
What we're looking at here, this devastation that we can see around us, is the price that it took to destroy that most vile of projects that was declared in this city in June 2014, calling itself the Islamic State. This is the cost, this is the price, this destruction is what it took to turn that thing from a reality back into just an idea again.
The Tigris River divides Mosul. Coalition forces bombed many of the bridges linking east and west. East Mosul still shows signs of life, but West Mosul bore the brunt of the conflict. One report says more than 9,000 civilians died in the battle to liberate Mosul from the Islamic State and left the city in ruins in the attempt to save it. We looked through this nearby church, a stark symbol of what ISIS sought to destroy. In Mosul alone, ISIS destroyed dozens of Christian churches and buildings. At one time, more than 10,000 Christian families called Mosul home. Now, just a handful remain.
I'm standing at what used to be the center of St. Catherine's Church, and behind here was a convent for Dominican nuns. ISIS used this as their headquarters, and then it was destroyed by a U.S. airstrike.
After ISIS took over Mosul, they used this place as their headquarters. They brought everything they stole from the people, their cars and their property, here. They used it as a factory for weapons and bombs.
I can't express of my feelings, of my sad feelings about that, because I am comparing how it was before and now how is it, and not the buildings, but the act of the Dominican sisters.
Johanna says the Dominican sisters served as salt and light to Mosul.
You know, this convent for all Christians in Mosul has a big importance because the people of Mosul knows the Dominican sisters. They established many schools in Mosul, and all the people now who are in good position in Iraq, they are graduated from these schools, especially in Mosul. For that, the Dominican sister had good reputation in Mosul.
His humanitarian organization provided food and relief to Sunni Muslims here when the city opened up.
We were here when they bombed the minaret of Hadba. In the same day, we are distributing here foods for families. And they asked us, we threatened you, we killed Christians, and now you are helping us. We didn't understand that. Dr. John from CSI was with us. He told them that is Christianity. They love their enemies, and you are not their enemies. You are victims of ISIS as Christians. For that, we are here to help you.
While much of Mosul lies in ruins, Johanna hopes for a better future.
I hope that Mosul one day become as it was before. That is my dream.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Mosul, Iraq.
Up next, we're sitting down with Pastor Carl Lentz. Hear why he thinks the perception of evangelicals needs to change. And welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Today we continue our conversation with Hillsong, New York pastor Carl Lentz, who has a message to the evangelical church in his sit down with us in Studio 5.
So it's not a sin in your church to have an abortion?
That's the kind of conversation we would have, finding out your story, where you're from, what you believe.
Work through it, like talk
yeah,
about
I mean, God's the judge. People have to live to their own convictions, and I think if I have to tell you, that's such a broad question to me. I'm going higher. I want to sit with somebody and say, where do you believe?
So it's not an open and shut case with you.
Some people would say it is. I think to me, I'm trying to teach people who Jesus is first, find out their story. Before I start picking and choosing what I think is sin in your life, I'd like to know your name.
Now, we have to talk about your appearance on The View. You talked about abortion, and I certainly heard what you were saying, but I'd like to give you an opportunity to clarify for those who didn't get it. What was the message you were trying to say there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was pretty simple. Like, the first thing I'm doing, I don't care if it's a TV show or, you know, a conversation on the street, like the woman who asked me the question is not a Christian. So the logical move, no matter what, is to ask somebody who God is. Because for me to talk about sin without establishing what sin is, and then who establishes what sin is, to me, this is nonsensical. So to give an answer that this woman wanted, because she's pro-choice, pro-everything probably I'm against, by not giving her what she wanted, it actually took some of the directional control from her in that moment, and I felt like it at all times. What was funny to me about that is that I got to talk about Jesus, and it wasn't good enough for some people claiming to follow him. So for me, I'm okay with you know, I also have women in that audience and on the streets of New York that I'm more passionate about than pleasing people who, you know, say they're Christians and took issue with what I said. That's their right to take issue. It's my issue it's my right to keep on being in positions to say what we feel is best. And for those who were genuinely confused by that, did my best to clarify it. But you can't really try to lead people if you're gonna think about opinion first. Our thing is gonna be gospel first. What does God call us to do right now? And we're also under no obligation to say anything. And people forget that. Like, you should have done this, you should have said that. I say, who are you? You know, I think our goal is to follow the lead of the Holy Spirit, and I will have opportunities, you know, in the future, and who knows the way we'll handle it. But that's why that particular moment went down like that, is because I knew I wouldn't have time and context to really be different than everybody else up there talking about sin. A lot of people watching don't know what sin is because they don't know who God is. So for me, it was a really logical thing to say, yeah, right now we're gonna go this way, because I'm not under any obligation to be a puppet up here. And you know, you gotta live with a very small amount of people who didn't get it. Most people did.
The issue of race seems to, at least right now, always be in the forefront of our culture and discussion. I know you're friends with Lecrae, and he has made it a point to distance himself from the evangelical community. What do you think of that move?
I feel like I love Lecrae, and I stand with him. I think white evangelical and the word white, to me, the combo has made me never want to be associated with the word evangelical. And I don't think that's fair, but at the same time, I want to be a part of the generation that redefines what that means. Because right now, when people think evangelical, they're not thinking Bible-believing Christian. They're thinking pro this, right, red state, this belief, this political view, and I can't stand it. And I understand why a guy like Lecrae would go, no way. No, and I think it's cool that he has gained, you know, more influence, and in the short term, he was willing to say, I'm not doing this. Like, I don't care if you don't want to come to my shows. I don't care if you're not going to buy my music. This is who I've always been, and if you don't want to share my pain, then I don't want to share my music with you anyway, and I'm with that. Like, I feel the same way. There are some people who I don't want to resonate with this message. There are some people I do want to go, Carl, we can't stand you. Good, because if we agree on stuff, something's wrong with me. And I think that's where Lecrae was at. Like, hey, if you can't understand what I'm going through right now as a black man in America, you don't understand me anyway. So I don't think he separated from, you know, evangelical gospel Jesus as much as he did a sector of it that just to me needs a change so bad.
And an update for you now on the E. coli infection threatening both children of Bethel Worship Ministry CEO Joe Taylor and his wife Janie. 2-year-old Jackson, his cognitive function has also been restored. On Instagram, the couple writes, Jackson's name means the Lord has been gracious and shown favor. Every time this boy says a word, it is a miracle of the goodness of God. The couple also report a miraculous turnaround for their daughter, Addie. They say her diarrhea has slowed significantly, which is the opposite of what the doctor said would happen. You can read more about this story at cbnnews.com. Well, this week, Operation Blessing provided much needed aid. We've got more on this story coming up after this. This week, Operation Blessing provided some much-needed aid to the victims of a church attack in Pakistan. More than 50 people were injured and several lost their lives when 2 suicide bombers blew up a Pakistani church during a Sunday service in December. Operation Blessing partnered with Community Advancement Society to provide food boxes for the families of the victims. This relief helps to fill the gap for a time as the families deal with the loss of loved ones and for those who have temporarily lost the ability to work as they recover. It is time now for your Tuesday Tweetable, and here's a message I'd love for you to pass along and hope you are inspired by this as well. Consider this: it is best to live a life that is authentically you. Stop trying to be someone else. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.